Before moving on, let me take the moment to announce that this initiative for UGC Net Coaching undertaken by the Commerce Club of Department of Commerce, University of Kerala have grown over a week with an emerging number of 600 and plus participants in the Telegram group. I congratulate all of you for your interest and investment in this training program. With much pride and prestige, I hereby present to you all the inaugural session of online net coaching program for commerce organized by the Commerce Club. Let us all jointly compose stories of success and survival here. Prayer is an inner devotion, a devotion to the Lord Almighty to help us sail the sea of challenges. Let us all seek His blessings and pray for the world to get everything back normal soon. And I invite Pooja Lakshmi from MCOM S2 for the same.
കാണായ ലോകങ്ങൾ കാക്കുന്ന ദേവാ കാരുണ്യ സിന്ധോ നമിക്കുന്നു ഞങ്ങൾ കരളിൻ്റെ പൂക്കൾ നിൻ പാദതാരിൽ കാണിക്ക വച്ചു നമിക്കുന്നു ഞങ്ങൾ ലോകാ സമസ്ത സുഖിനോ ഭവന്തു ഈ മന്ത്രമീ ലോകമെങ്ങും മുഴങ്ങാൻ വിജ്ഞാനദീപം നിറകതിർ ചൂടാൻ നേരിൻ്റെ പാത തെളിക്കേണമേ നീ കാണായ ലോകങ്ങൾ കാക്കുന്ന ദേവാ കാരുണ്യ സിന്ധോ നമിക്കുന്നു ഞങ്ങൾ കരളിൻ്റെ പൂക്കൾ നിൻ പാദതാരിൽ കാണിക്ക വച്ചു നമിക്കുന്നു ഞങ്ങൾ.
Thank you, Pooja. May the Almighty chant His grace upon us throughout. In the middle of difficulties lies opportunity. Have you all heard of this quote given by Albert Einstein? This indeed has a great significance in the present scenario. It is being heard that the pandemic histories of the bygone centuries denied the students their access to education at that time. Is this the situation now? Exactly not. We are undergoing through a revolution in the field of education. No more disasters or disease could affect our knowledge thirst in any way, for we are a charismatic generation molded with creativity, courage, and commitment. Hence, all my dear revolutionaries here are to be warmly welcomed. For this, I invite the President of Commerce Club, Ms. Surya from MCOM S2.
Good evening, everyone. Today we are joined here for the inaugural ceremony of NTA Net online training program organized by Commerce Club, Department of Commerce, University of Kerala. The COVID-19 pandemic and the subsequent shift to virtual learning have forced us to look at the learning and examination system in a new way. Apart from impacting the future 32 crore young citizens, this has also pushed educators to reshape the mechanism of imparting lessons. Above all, this situation has taught us to accept the online training, teaching, and most of us are now learned to adjust with this new way of life. Anyway, let's hope for the best because the vaccination drive is moving forward fastly, which would definitely help us to fight this battle against COVID-19 with much more courage and confidence. Myself is Surya, and today I am entrusted with the duty to invite you all to this event. First of all, I would like to invite Professor Dr. Gabriel Simon Tuttle, our beloved head and director of IQAC, Department of Commerce, School of Business Management and Legal Studies, University of Kerala. Welcome to this session, sir.
Thank you.
Next,
Thank you.
Next, I invite Dr. Rasia Begum, Professor and Dean, Department of Commerce, University of Kerala. Welcome to the session, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you.
Now I invite Dr. G. Raju, Professor and former Head, Department of Commerce, University of Kerala. Welcome to the session, sir. Next, I invite Dr. Harikumar PN, Professor, Department of Commerce, University of Kerala. Welcome to the session, sir. Next, I invite Dr. Biju T, Associate Professor, Department of Commerce, University of Kerala. Welcome to the session, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Now I invite Dr. Biju AV, Assistant Professor, Department of Commerce, University of Kerala. Welcome to the session, sir. Now I invite Ms. Lakshmi S., our beloved faculty advisor and lecturer, Department of Commerce, University of Kerala. Welcome to the session, ma'am.
Thank you.
Now I invite Elizabeth Tenny Thomas, lecturer in Commerce, Study and Research Center, Alappuzha, University of Kerala. Welcome to the session, ma'am. Next, I invite Mr. Ananduraj, lecturer in Commerce, Kerala University Study and Research Center, Alappuzha. Welcome to the session, sir. Finally, I invite all the participants, Commerce Club members, students to this session. Welcome all and thank you.
Thank you, Surya. I was just talking about the outbreak of an educational revolution, right? Yes, from the four walls of a confined classroom and from the few pages of a publisher's textbook, we have evolved in the past 1.5 years. When we were exposed to the threats of COVID 19, we digged out opportunities from it. We were innumerably supported by our teachers for this, putting their effort in comforting us in the virtual classrooms. Hence, this session shall be inaugurated by one of the gems among our teaching faculty, our iconic and respected head of the department, Dr. Gabriel Simon Tuttle. Wholeheartedly welcoming you, sir, for the inaugural address.
The President of the Commerce Club, Ms. Surya, the Dean Faculty of Commerce, Professor Rasia Begum, the other members of the faculty who are my colleagues in the department, Professor Raju, Professor Harikumar, Dr. Biju T, Dr. Biju AV, Ms. Lakshmi, other teachers and my dear students. A very good evening to one and all. Now, at the outset, I congratulate the Commerce Club for their initiative to take up an orientation program on the NTA UGC NET examination. Because when we look at the master's program, not only in our university, but across the country, a major objective behind pursuing a master's program for many, I won't say for all, for many, is to enter into teaching and research. Now, with this objective, you have joined for a program. And in fact, there is a deep understanding that in order to enter this profession, whether it is teaching or research, you need to crack the NET examination. And students, in fact, start with their orientation on that right from the day they join semester 1. So this is one area where they need to actually break into. And above this, I think NET is also an opening into other career options, where when you talk about content writing, when you talk about higher order research into other professions, it acts as an opening for your career prospects. So on that line, I think this is a great job as far as giving orientation and supporting on that line. The Department of Commerce earlier, even after the onset of this COVID pandemic, we have done some of our initiatives. I think in the online mode, we had an 18 days program on the research methodology. We had a PSC orientation program for the assistant professors examination. so on and so forth. And we have also, with the alumni, we have associated and we have had a program for the undergraduate students in commerce, which was on interpretation of financial statements. This is in addition to the number of webinars on emerging topics, contemporary topics, which we have covered. So this will be yet another initiative. Now, before I inaugurate this program, let me request all those who have joined to kindly take this exercise with due respect, with due recognition and due care, because this is a free orientation program. But even when it is a free orientation program, keep in mind that its seriousness should not be lost. Because if you prepare with that interest, with that commitment, with that energy, and with that plan of action, then it is going to pay rich dividend. What we saw in some of the long term or the sustaining orientation programs in the past is that at least some, I'm not saying all, at least some aspirants or some participants take it as, anyway, we have not paid anything, so today I'll enter, tomorrow I'll not come, the day after I'll enter, when I'm free I'll enter, when I'm not free I'll leave it. So that kind of an approach is something where you'll have a break in this process, and you might not get it in the what do you call, the intensity or gravity with which it was intended to be delivered. So my request is to take it seriously and see that you take advantage out of this. It's not just passing one particular examination, but it is an input for your entire career, including, of course, the direct curriculum of the NET examination. So take it on that line and try to associate with the Commerce Club in all their initiatives, which are actually meant for the larger mass. And I also congratulate all the postdoctoral fellows and research scholars, along with the faculty members who are acting as the support team for this. And they are all doing this out of their interest, without any monetary benefit, but just trying to see how they can support learners in terms of building their career aspirations. But and I think this is what we have been doing even when it came to the PSC orientation program, or when it came to the research methodology program. It was all just seeing how those who are interested can be given the support which is due to them. The Commerce Club intends to carry forward more of such initiatives for the undergraduate students in terms of career support and in terms of their academics, and more focusing on skills and competencies, because it's so very important in future. It is not just going to be the academic degree which is going to be important in future. Yes, your degree is definitely important, but the degree supported with add-on skills. So we are looking at how we can associate with the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, with the GST Center, with the ISDC Center, because they all have packages where they can give support, perhaps in the online mode, to see that you get some skills, you get some inputs, which will be really refreshing and energizing as far as your career prospects are concerned. So I again congratulate the Commerce Club, and I request them to keep their ears and eyes open, and all the support team as well, to give their due support in enriching this process. And with your consent and blessings, and hoping that we will get results as anticipated, I declare this orientation workshop on NTA NET examination as inaugurated. And I'll be addressing you on some of the tips for the examination after the inaugural function. So thank you so much, and let us see that this beginning is a true beginning for a career growth. Thank you, and over to you.
Thank you so much, sir. As I have told earlier, we have been blessed with a team of creative, motivating, and resourceful teachers. Each one among them have inculcated their differentiating qualities in us. And I just wanted you all to attain an impact of their empowering words at this initiating ceremony. So, I invite our teachers to felicitate you all. First of all, here is Dr. Ezrasia Begum, Professor and Dean, Department of Commerce, University of Kerala. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Rahma. most respected Professor and Head, Dr. Gabriel Simon Tuttle, who is our ex officio President of Commerce Club and who is also serving as Director IQAC of University of Kerala. My colleagues in the department, Professor G. Raju, Professor Hari Kumar, Dr. Biju T, Dr. Biju A.V., Ms. Lakshmi, our faculty members from Alappuzha Center, Elizabeth and Ananduraj. And then apart from ex officio president, as it is the practice, we have elected president, secretary, treasurer, executive committee members, etc. for the Commerce Club. We have Surya as the president, Jibira as the secretary, then Arsha Hari as the treasurer, and we have executive committee members representing different classes, and all the members of Commerce Club. Then because all members of Commerce Club are the organizers, then all the participants of this program. Good evening, one and all. In addition to what Professor Simon said, I request all of you to take advantage of this program. In the sense, first of all, I appreciate the Commerce Club for this great initiative of organizing a free online, as has mentioned, a free online training program for the benefit of UGC, NET and JRF aspirants. We have noticed that Commerce Club, as per the direction of HODs and faculty members, is very active, and they are coming up with various programs. I appreciate all the members of the Commerce Club, and I'm told that we have almost 750 members. I mean, scholars or students registered for this online program also. As you know, I think if I am not wrong, the last notification, the date of examination remains postponed. The date of examination is yet to be announced. That means you had ample time and still you have time. As you know, every one of you might have gone through the syllabus and the content of the syllabus, etc., etc. There are two papers. It is known to every one of you. Still, I'm just briefing. There are two papers, paper 1 and paper 2. Paper 1 is a general paper where your skills on teaching, research, aptitude will be tested. Like there are 10 units, like research aptitude, teaching aptitude, your comprehension skills, your communication, then mathematical reasoning, logical reasoning, data interpretation, ICT, etc., etc. About higher education, even about higher education system, there would be questions. All questions are what? Multi-choice questions. Then paper 2 is entirely on your subject. All the subjects you have learned in UG and PG courses, you need some specific, preparation for that. That's all. But it is not new to you. All the subjects are very familiar to you, like business environment, international business, accounting and auditing, business economics, business finance, business statistics, research methods, then HRM, banking, financial institutions, marketing management, income tax and corporate tax planning. Every unit would be very familiar to you, but you know, you need some specific preparation. Up to 2012, the examination were on, this paper was on descriptive mode, but now it is entirely on objective type questions with multiple choices. So I think the organizers have developed a schedule dividing the total syllabus of paper 1 and paper 2 into different classes, which will be taken during Saturdays and Sundays, I am told. Along with the faculty members of department and Alappuzha Center faculty and Anandu, one of the peculiarity of this program is that along with the teachers, our postdoctoral fellows, JRF scholars and PhD scholars are also joining hands with the teachers. As Professor Simon sir was telling, it's a great thing about them. Anyway, I take this opportunity to especially appreciate their willingness to act as resource persons for this program. Dr. Jasila, Dr. Arathi, Dr. Ajesh Kumar, Dr. Anish, Dr. Amal, Dr. Siji, Dr. Sheena, Dr. Anisha Chelapan, all are our postdoctoral fellows. Then Alappuzha faculty Anantu, then Swali, Kavya Shabu, J.B. Johnson, Sri Krishnan, Prasida are our research scholars. Few of them are JRF scholars. Anyway, they are very, very competent students and scholars, and they are very fresh graduates. In the sense, they are being very fresh graduates. They will be having what we hope that they will be having latest knowledge. Means they will be well updated about the knowledge, and I hope they will be orienting the participants with great content in the respective areas they have selected. Then that is the right decision from the Commerce Club. See, just like in civil service examinations, the civil service top rank holders will be invited as resource persons for orienting the fresh civil service aspirants. I think Professor Anhead has taken that that initiative of taking the support of our postdoctoral fellows who have gone through this, who has successfully gone through the competitive examinations of JRF and NET. They have completed their doctoral research, and the remaining are nearing their submission and award of doctoral research, doctoral degree. In that sense, it's a very proactive decision from the part of the HOD and from the part of the Commerce Club. And I wish all the very best to the participants, and I conclude. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Next, I invite Dr. Biju T, Associate Professor, Department of Commerce, University of Kerala. Over to you, sir, for the felicitation.
Thank you, Rahma. A warm good evening to all of you. Very respected Professor and Head, Dr. Gabriel Simon Tatil, sir. Honorable Dean, Faculty of Commerce, Dr. Asiya Begum, ma'am. And dear respected professors of the department, Dr. G. Raju, sir, Dr. Hari Kumar, sir, and my colleague, Dr. Biju AV, sir, dear Ms. Lakshmi, and the faculty members of Alappuzha Center, Elizabeth and Ananduraj. Dear President of this Commerce Club, Surya, Secretary Jibra, and all other executive members, and all the students of the department who are actually the organizers of this program. First of all, let me take this opportunity to congratulate the Commerce Club for organizing this kind of wonderful programs, because you are responding to the need of the hour. Because whenever we talk to our honorable head of the department, sir is always insisting this kind of response from the part of the students. You are positively responding in accordance with the desires of the honorable head of the department. So congratulations, dear children. And as Rahma pointed out, already 610 students, 610 aspirants have already registered for this program. Yeah, that's a very high turnout. But one thing is there, whenever a program is organized by the Department of Commerce, either by the Alumni Association or by the Researchers Forum or by the Commerce Club, this kind of a response is there from the participant side. As Simon sir rightly pointed out, we have already organized some programs. We are always trying to enhance the quality of research and trying to support those who are seeking an opportunity as or a profession as a teacher in commerce. We are always trying to support them. So we organized some programs in that respect. At all the times, we found this kind of a response from the participant side. It is because of, as Rahma pointed out rightly, it is because of the richness of our professors, the resourcefulness of our professors. Simon Tattil sir, Raju sir, Rasia teacher, Hari sir, everyone is very popular to the academia all over India. So now also you get actually you will get an opportunity to interact with them, and at the same time the Commerce Club people, they combine the expertise and the young experts into the pool of resource persons for this particular program. As Rasia teacher pointed out, the PDF scholars of our department, they're all very talented researchers, as well as their subject knowledge is also very rich. So you will get an opportunity to interact with them also. But one thing you have to remember, that is what Simon sir rightly said in the beginning itself, you have to be very serious. You have to be persistent in your preparations for this examination, because as we all know, our aim should be one among the top 1% who are writing this examination, because only the top 1% will get research fellowship JRF for this examination. And at least you have to be one among the top 5% or 6%. Those who come among the top 5% will only get the net. They will qualify the net examination. So take this opportunity, even though it is offered free of cost. A rich pool of expertise is arranged for you by the organizers, by the Commerce Club members for you. So dear participants, try to reap the benefit of this program. Wish you all success by participating in this particular program, and I once again congratulate all the persons behind organizing this kind of a wonderful program. Thank you all. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. Each year, more than 6 lakh candidates appear for the UGC NET exam, of which only 5 or 6% qualifies the same, as Biju sir have told earlier. Further, only an average of 5,000 are awarded the Junior Research Fellowship, which reveals the level of competitiveness of this exam. Smart planned scholarly guidance and a systematic study shall surely make a sublime result. Once again, I invite our head of the department, Dr. Gabriel Simon Tattil sir, for some nourishing tips to nurture us with the best. Over to you, sir.
Yeah, thank you. Once again, welcome back. We are having around, because we are on the Google Meet, we have 100 of our participants who are on the Meet, and the others, I think, might have joined through the channel where you're having the live streaming of this program. Now, today we are just discussing some tips that we need to keep in mind when we look at preparations for the NET. Some of them are common for all, or by and large, most of them are common for all examinations when it comes to a multiple choice question answer session, MCQ model. And what actually should be our approach is what we are trying to look at. Now, first of all, let us try and understand that a major challenge which we face, because all of us, or at least most of us, are taking this examination along with or immediately after a university examination, which is in a descriptive mode. So a descriptive and an MCQ type of examination, specifically when it comes to the analytical mode, your approach should be entirely different. And in that, I'm not putting any slide before you, but I'm talking about some key concepts or issues which we have to encounter when you take this examination. And number one, the most important one, is conceiving ideas. So it'll be good if you can just keep these points in mind and go by these points in your preparation. Conceiving ideas. Now, what do you mean by this? When you prepare for your conventional university examinations, It is not always essential that you need to score based on conceiving ideas. If it is well and good if you conceive ideas, but at times it can happen even without conception, because you get questions like explain, define, what is, in a descriptive mode. So there, I can write an answer even if I have not understood the concept well. But here what is going to happen is you will not be asked to define or explain something, but you will have to choose one among the options given in terms of the idea that the particular concept will convey. To give one example, let us take a few examples so that you can understand this very well. You will never get a question on what is market customization, but you might have to select from the options A, B, C, D, which of these cases is a case of market customization. So for this, what is important? It is not reproduction of a definition or reproduction of a statement. It is conceiving the basic idea behind that. So it is like understanding that this concept means bringing some change in a product or a service in a manner in which the customer can use it the way the customer prefers or likes. So this is the concept. I'm not trying to teach you market segment customization, but I'm trying to say what is the idea, and that idea remains. So this idea remains with you throughout. That means, suppose I take a classic example of tea. Some people like to take it strong. Some people like to take it in a very light form. So a tea bag will be a classical example for what we talk about in terms of a product customization. So a product customization, that idea is I can take it, I can use it in the form in which I want. So there will be examples over here, and we should be able to identify which among this is an example for customizing a product. And when the product is customized, how market can be segmented according to that. You have segments in the market to meet the different product customized categories. So the same thing happens when you're talking about speculation, when you're talking about systematic risk. You look at any of the concepts that you study, underlying that there is a theory which essentially gets captured in terms of an idea. So the key aspect here is to conceive that idea. And you can conceive that idea in your thought, in your mind, even in the way which you like in terms of your language. So suppose you're using Malayalam. In Malayalam, what this essentially means should sink deep into me. So it is not just continuous reading. It's not just hard work in terms of reading. It is in terms of capturing the basic idea. This comes again, suppose you talk about the principle of management by objectives. There is a basic idea behind that. When you talk about management by exception, when you talk about capital budgeting, when you talk about tax planning, tax evasion, tax avoidance, in all this, there is a basic idea, a basic concept. So when that is captured, the MCQ options is something which you can catch hold of. So conceiving when you learn is the basic essence for MCQ. That means you have something, you try to develop a commonality between the person who had talked about the concept and the way you capture that concept. So there is a similarity in that. And that is the essence of all that you study. So in every chapter or module that you take up from the curriculum, try to see what this idea is basically talking about. Suppose you talk about job design. Suppose you talk about job description and job specification. All these terms, job enrichment, job enlargement, every term has got an underlying idea. That idea, in a way in which you can understand it, must be there with you. It is not always essential that you should have the entire statement or sentence which describes it with you. So this is the number one tip which you need to keep in mind. Associated with this comes the fact that all of us have something called a short-term memory and a long-term memory. Now, when I said the idea regarding something, that idea will last in your long-term memory. but the definition perhaps will go only to the short-term memory. So I will know that job enrichment is vertical loading to a job, or job enlargement is horizontal loading to a job because it's adding more tasks or it is making the task more challenging. But I might not know the entire definition. So an MCQ is basically looking at putting certain things into your long-term memory, which will last with you. What is working capital management? What is capital budgeting? What is short-term, long-term decisions that you make in in finance? What do you mean by capital structure theories? When does dividend influence the value of the firm? The dividend policy decisions. So in all these things, there are certain things which will last in your long-term memory, and certain things which is just immediately captured but does not go into your long-term memory. So definitions, long statements, big quotes might be there. You might have to just read, keep it in your short-term memory, but you'll have to carry the idea into the long-term memory, which is going to be important as far as your examination is concerned. So try to do this in that particular form. These two things, these two key aspects: conceiving the idea that is there behind a particular concept, trying to register this in a long-term memory using your own simple way of reducing it. Maybe in a one sentence note, in one or two brief statements, the way you like it to be reflected upon in terms of the idea that it conveys. So these two things are very, very important as far as your tips for MCQ is concerned. Again, in your learning tips, one thing which becomes very, very imperative or very, very important is not to have long-term continuous add-ons, but to have short-term or short spans of broken reflections. Now, what does this mean? Now, when I am preparing a particular module, suppose I'm talking about finance, I start with financial management. Then there are different concepts in that. I'll talk about the objectives of financial management. So I just put one small point there, objective. It could be wealth maximization, profit maximization. Then from there, I take a lead into why wealth maximization is more superior to profit maximization. Then I come to the three concepts: the traditional, the medieval, and the modern concept of finance. Then I come to the scope of finance. The scope of finance will be in terms of investment decision, financing decision, dividend decision, liquidity decision. Then under working capital, certain things will come. Under capital budgeting, my project appraisal decision will come. It will be in the form of your payback period, your discounted cash flow, so on and so forth. Then you come to the dividend, relevance, irrelevance, so on. It goes in that form. So what I'm doing here is, when I just spoke about financial management, I have a structure which has evolved from the scratch, which is very closely associated with the curriculum. So this will be maybe in a diagrammatic form or in the form of certain organized words which come under one leading to the other. I'll say objectives. I'll say profit maximization, wealth maximization. Against wealth, I'll write superior because of one or two reasons relating to that. Then after that, immediately I'll talk about the scope. I'll put 4 decisions. Under each decision, I'll give arrows, and those arrows will talk about what will come under them. In capital budgeting, I'll talk about project appraisal. I'll say payback period. I'll say the IRR, discounted cash flow, post discount. I'll just talk about that. So the structure is what we can actually plan and take it forward with us. So this is very important when you are preparing. So you need to have, what I'm trying to talk about here is, you need to have your curriculum with you. Professor Razia Begum was rightly talking about paper 1, paper 2. In each module, the contents and sub-contents in a developed form. So your homework in terms of the structure that you have prepared, that has to be very clear to you. You need to see the structure in terms of how each leads to the other, how one stands below the other, how it breaks. Suppose you talk about the financial market. You will say there is a money market, there is a capital market. Under money market, perhaps you will put the institutional setup for that, the call money. Under capital market, you'll say primary, you'll say secondary. Under primary, you'll put the word IPO. Under secondary, you'll put the word stock exchanges. Then you will talk about trading. So then you'll talk about speculation. Then you'll talk about equity derivatives and different forms of derivatives. You might talk about calls, options. So this much which I said perhaps will come perhaps in one page, but its expansion will be something 30, 40, 50 pages in the textbook. But I understand that when I'm preparing, I'm connecting between these things. I'm connecting the dots so that I reach into that particular end. So how effectively are we actually reducing this? How actually we are condensing this? So what I'm talking about in terms of breaking your span is, rather than going continuously with the reading process, with the preparation process, when you look at a main head and from there to the subhead, you prepare a structured relationship between the heads which come under that, and you reflect upon them in terms of what I said earlier. What is this concept saying, and how does this concept relate to this concept? As I said, when you talk about, even in HR, when we talk about job design, it comes under job analysis. And under design, you have job description, you have job specification. Under job description, you have the task to be performed. Under job specification, you have the qualifications and qualities to do that task. So the thing is, when I'm having a large material, maybe of a module or a unit, which is 30, 40 pages with me, I can reduce that into a few pages in terms of the structured notes that I have prepared, the condensed edited material that I have, and from that I can actually create a developed form of it. So it becomes easy for us to capture. Same thing when we talk about your accounting processes, right from bookkeeping. You are talking about journalizing, posting, balancing, testing, summarizing. Then you're talking about closing entries, adjusting entries. All have got specific purposes and specific relatedness. Which type of accounts are closed, which type of accounts go into the opening entry. Then from there, liquidity, interpreting liquidity through ratios. Then you're looking at solvency, then you're looking at profitability. So this all gets the entire process of accounting, 4 or 5 pages, it gets reduced into certain heads. And then you try to develop based upon those heads. So there you are confident on what becomes important at each point, right from accounting concepts to the financial statements and the subsequent interpretation and analysis that takes place over there. So you use these tools. When you use these tools, you see that your preparation is more strong. So that is not always continuous hard preparation where you read. It is in fact smart preparation where you break and reflect, break, record, reflect, continue. You do something, you break, you record something which you have finished, you reflect and keep that. That is where I talked about when you're starting with each unit. Maybe I'll come and start teaching different. I might finish in 1 hour's time. I might have talked about IPO. I might have talked about the primary market. In that, I might have covered several concepts. I might have talked about price band. I might have talked about upper band, lower band, opening date, closing date, merchant banker. All these concepts directly will not be relevant in terms of what it is. It is in terms of its application. It is in terms of its analytics. It is in terms of its illustrated examples, which are going to come for your examination. So that understanding will be deep in us when you have this mode of having structured your preparation, reflected upon what you have prepared, connected them into a sequence. And this connection is associated with what is happening in the curriculum. So you should be very, very familiar with the curriculum that you have had with you. And that curriculum has got associated questions in the past. And you'll be getting some, I think our team is also preparing with some, what we call past questions and material, which is going to guide you. So you will look at what are the questions. Say, for example, if they are talking about which among the following is an error of principle. So they are not asking you what is an error of principle. They are not asking you what is error of omission. But you have to identify from that is where the approach is different. They are not asking you what is MBO. From these examples, A, B, C, you tell us whether this is a case of MBO or a case of management by exception. As I said, for product customization, is this a case of customization, or they might give you a list of products and they might say you, can you put this as a product line or a product mix? They are not asking you what is a product line or a product mix, but they're saying from this, tell us which is a product line and which is a product mix. So that's why I said the idea, the relationship, the structure in which you prepare is very, very important in order to crack this examination. So when you look at the material, when you look at the content, you have your curriculum there with you. You have the sub-components which come with you. You have to have your notebook ready with what you write there, what you prepare there, and how you reflect upon them. So that is where it will actually get related into your concept. So even if certain things are left out over there, there is something which you can retain in terms of getting through the examples. But when you see the options, you will have a feel of how this is associated with the content that you have obviously covered. So this is very, very important. So what I'm trying to put across is, have a note with the structure of every small thing that you prepare. Even in taxation, like there are certain things, basic concepts, then there are certain things, heads, then we talk about deduction, which is head specific, then you're talking about gross total income, then from gross total income there is what we discuss in terms of deductions under section 80, then you have your set off, carry forward, and then you are in total income, then taxation, rates, assessment. So there's a structure behind that, and it is the expansion of this structure which actually happens in your study process. So try to grab that structure when the inputs are given, and understand that when something is coming up as a spark in the form of a question, there is the either side of it which has to be covered. As I said, maybe a question is on, you see a past question on errors, or a past question on payback, or a past question on maybe IRR. So you see either side of it. If this time it was IRR, maybe next time it is post-discounted or discounted cash flow method, or it can be your accounting rate. It can go in different form. If this time they have asked for a principle, we identify an error of principle, you have to look at the two sides of it. It can be error of formation, error of commission, which can come over there. So this methodology which you have in having your work planned is something which is very, very important. So for this, you need a definite plan of action. You need a time where you are going to prepare, and a time when you are going to reflect upon your preparation. Two things are important. Definitely, all of us will have a time to listen, as you are now doing online, and understand certain things. But beyond that, recording and spending some time on reflection of what is recorded in terms of what it actually means, what it actually conveys, and what it actually implies is equally important. So that has to be taken care of when we are talking from each of these things, because what ultimately must last deep in you, in your LTM, in your long-term memory, that has to be counted. Another important point which I would like to put across as far as MCQ is concerned, behind every concept that you study, right from accounting concepts or costing principles or cost sheet or standard costing or marginal costing to whatever, taxation, auditing, or any of those things, look at it in a form where there is in it a historical past, there is in it a present, and there is in it a future. In anything that you study, these three things will be there. Suppose I'm talking about capital budgeting, or I'm talking about capital structure theories. There is a period when that theory evolved. So behind that, there is a date, there is a historical perspective. Somebody is associated with that. When I'm saying Modigliani and Miller theory, or when I'm saying MBO, or when I'm saying pricing theories, so there is somebody behind that. So that person and that year when it evolved, then from there, what it stands for and how it is today. So in its present concept, there might be certain things which are very important for your MCQ. Say, for example, when you talk about factoring, when you talk about valuation of goodwill, it's today might stand in terms of certain things being practiced in a varied form, certain things being practiced as such, and certain things which are never even practiced. So when you talk about factoring, we talk about advanced factoring, reverse factoring, different forms of factoring. But all of this might not be there in India. When we talk about valuation of goodwill, we talk about super profit method, we talk about annuity method. But what actually happens in India in terms of when do we actually value goodwill and how it is actually valued in practice? Because that might come as an MCQ. When we talk about mergers and acquisitions, again, when we talk about tax planning, in all the modules, because I'm giving you as an overview of all this, there is certain things which happen as such, which certain things which do not happen, certain things which happen in a varied form. So when you talk about its present, this is very, very important. And again, when you talk about its future, they might ask, there is a chance, because now that is becoming more and more important. The future is significantly based in terms of its applications. Where does this apply in future? How does this apply in future? And remember, when we talk about all the the quantifiable disciplines like your finance, capital market, or accounting, or costing, the basic issue in that is, when it comes to the futuristic perspective, is analysis and interpretation. There is a shift from mere computation to analysis and interpretation. So your questions are likely to be oriented into things which are judgmental, things which are inferential. Say, for example, you might have studied how to compute current ratio, or you might know the difference between current ratio and acid test ratio. But the question is not going to be how to compute current. It is not going to be like current assets divided by current liability gives you the current ratio, if that is what you have studied. Instead, you might get two firms with having different current ratios, and they might ask you, how do these two firms deal under conditions of maybe liquidity or profitability? So this is very important, drawing even from the past examinations. Like suppose you have again, in your, say, another example, in your capital budgeting, suppose you talk about payback, or you talk about your net present value. So net present value and profitability index. We have studied how to compute net NPV. We have also studied how to compute profitability index. So NPV will be the difference between present value of cash inflows and present value of cash outflows. And profitability index is present value of cash inflows divided by present value of cash outflows. So what is the difference between these two? We know the computation, we know the process, but what is going to happen in the examination, as it has happened already, is that when do we actually look at NPV and when do we actually look at profitability index, and which is a more superior method for analysis under conditions of a limiting factor. And you will understand something, that in most of the computational values, there are certain values which are absolute and certain values which are relative. So when you say NPV, it's an absolute value. Firm A might have a net NPV, which is, say, 1 lakh. Firm B might have 2 lakhs. But which is better, you can't say. Because this 1 lakh might have come with an investment of maybe 5 lakh, in which case it is 20%. 2 lakh might have come with an investment of 2 crores, in which case it's very low. Now I have put it in a relative form. This relativity happens in a profitability index. So they might ask you, in terms of a relative sense, which is more important? So this is where I'm talking about the futuristic perspective. It is more in terms of application. When do we actually take payback? Payback is more important when a firm is facing liquidity crisis, when a firm is facing obsolescence. So even though time value is not considered, payback still has relevance, because for firms which are facing liquidity crisis, they want to get back the initial investment in the fastest pace. So these are futuristic implications. Even in your, when it's given two solvency ratios, how do you judge which firm is better? Two firms have got one firm has a very high GP, gross profit ratio, and a very low net profit ratio. Another firm has a very low gross profit ratio and a big net profit ratio. How will you judge the profitability of the two firms? Is it on the basis of GP? We will give more importance to gross profit or more importance to net profit? Now, that is, GP directly talks about the efficiency in the sales, whereas NP or your net profit is considering the net result, where indirect impact can come. So those implications are things which you should understand. So what I'm trying to put across through all these examples is there is a futuristic impact in that. which is more bound to be analytical, bound to be inferential? How do you see these two things to be more important? Same thing when it comes to your tax planning measures. There are many things in the tax planning measures which are focused on the development in the economy, which are focused on savings, which are focused on bringing more exports. So all these things have got different implications as far as the future is concerned, or the inferential part is concerned. So that understanding is something which we need to keep for. We might have done a lot of preparation. I know how to compute IRR. I know the formula. I know the definition. I know how to compute the discounted cash flow. I know what is payback. I know how it is computed. I know the process through which it is created. But then this is what is now asked. This is how it is now positioned. So how do you actually approach such questions in terms that is where what I said right from the beginning, conceiving the basic idea behind that, understanding the whole issue of time value, cash flow, and understanding the difference between absolute and relative values. This is there in your security analysis, in portfolio management, when we talk about systematic risk, when we talk about beta, variance. So there are certain values which are standalone values, which are meant for one purpose, and there are certain values which are relative values, which are meant for different purpose. They are meant for different differential analytical perspectives. So some of these things will come as very simple aspects where you're supposed to judge. So it is not just that I know all the definitions, I know all the statements, I know all the processes. By that, you have grabbed the past, you have grabbed the historical perspective, but you need to be a bit strong in terms of the analytical, because in many cases you'll see you'll be asked to give just simple examples. You have studied skimming strategy, penetration strategy and all. So they are giving some examples of some products which did like this, some product which priced initially like this, and we are supposed to find out what kind of, whether skimming was used or pricing was used, or we are supposed to identify which of this is using which methodology. So the same thing. Even there was once a question on paper 1 on, suppose your questionnaire, the research aptitude. Suppose your questionnaire is structured. Then what is the design? What is the research design? Is it descriptive or exploratory? That the student has learned very well descriptive design, meaning, definition, exploratory design, meaning, definition. The student knows what is structured questionnaire and unstructured questionnaire, but we never anticipated that if questionnaire is structured, design will be this. So this is where the relationship comes. So there the meaning is, if you have a structured questionnaire, means you're given the question and the possible answers. So that means the researcher is only trying to elicit which among the given options are actually applicable to that particular case, in which case it is descriptive. But if you're exploring, you do not even actually know which are the options, and you're trying to find out which actually could be the options. So there again, if you do not know the basic idea behind this, just by knowing that this man is the person who did this theory, and this is the year in which the theory came, and this is what that statement says, alone will not suffice. So those are the basic tips which you need to keep in mind when you have this particular process. Again, when you take objective MCQs which do not have negative marking and which have negative marking, again, your approach should be different. If there is no negative marking, you can take some chance. But even when you take some chance, you first go by all those things on which you are very, very sure on how to answer and how to approach the particular question. So these modalities are things where you need to actually have your own plan of action. Another important tip which I would like to give you is try to give a space and timing for this particular task that you're doing. If you're serious about something, we need to have a time and a space for that. That means it is not like, okay, whenever I get time, I'll do something. So I have to say that I'm going to dedicate this much time for this, and I'm going to keep these materials in this form, and I'm going to have a reduction and reflection in this particular format. So these things are very important in your preparation. It's not that I'm not saying that if you don't do that, is there a case where somebody has found success without doing that? Maybe there are people who are successful, but we are talking about the mass. We are talking about the by and large bigger population where they need to be engaged. And as Professor Alsia was rightly pointing out, when you look at these headings in the curriculum, I don't think anything will be unfamiliar to you, because once you have reached your maybe second or third semester in your master's program, in any university for that matter, almost all terms will be heading wise, or what you call concept wise. It is not something which is totally unknown. But when it comes suddenly to the question that MCQ the options, you are not able to judge. So that is where I said the underlying philosophy, the underlying phenomenon, the underlying idea behind the whole thing must get conceptualized. Even when it comes to a very simple concept of, say in accounting, separate entity. These are all things which most of these things which I'm talking about are past questions. Separate entity. Where actually do you think, which of the following is a case where separate entity gets captured in the profit and loss, in the balance sheet? It's very simple. But then we know what a separate entity. The owner and his business are distinct entities. But we are not trying to relate this to the balance sheet. The concept of, again, once asked, water capital. When do you say there is water in the capital or the capital gets diluted? The concept of fictitious asset, when does it happen? So there's a concept behind this. Your assets gets, all the funds that you have generated gets reflected in terms of assets. And then when you make losses, a part of your funds are not represented by assets and it becomes fictitious assets. And when it grows, the unit becomes potentially sick, then it becomes sick. So those concepts are very closely associated with your separate entity, with your going concern. Your going concern has got something to do with your closing entry, opening entry, and your adjusting entry. Your accrual concept has got something to do with adjusting entry. What is simply adjusting entry? What actually is the amount in your cash concept? Paids are taken into account, receipts are taken into account. Accrual concept, payables and receivables are taken into account. And which among these accrual gets associated in the profit and loss account? Through your adjusting entries. So when you're doing adjusting entries, what are we doing? We are bringing the paid to the payables. We are making the received into the receivables. So these things are put in the form of questions where you're saying, okay, your accrual gets reflected in the profit and loss account through adjusting entries. Your entity, separate entity, gets adjusted in the balance sheet through the capital being shown as something which is an owing by the business to the proprietor. The profits that are earned gets added to the capital or the reserve because that is the amount which the business has to pay to the owner. So each concept there has got something to do with these things. Analytically, how you relate is very important. So this is where more than familiarity, the analytical skills, your capability to understand the underlying concept with continuity. That's why it's very important. And the continuity is not in finance. There are certain things which gets related. Your accounting, auditing gets related. Your management accounting, cost accounting gets related in terms of purpose. The basic difference between the two is one for what it is used. One talks about reporting what happened in the past, another talks about what should happen in the future. So there are lots of basic interrogative search elements which actually come up in this. So that kind of a style, that kind of a system, you need to reflect upon when you study something. So what I'm trying to say here is, when you talk about a particular module, what is given in the initial concept, the past, the historical perspective, to what goes into the analytics, what goes into the inferential, has a relationship. It's not that I understood separate entity, going concern, money, pension, and there it ends. It is carried forward. It is carried forward into the financial statements and even thereafter. So also what is there in accounting is carried forward into auditing. It is carried forward into the professional accounting standards that you have. And there are clearly associations and reflections which get integrated into that. Say, for example, an accounting standard on depreciation has got something to do with what we actually talked about right from the conceptual part of it. So that kind of a reflection is very, very important. So to conclude, what I'm trying to put across here is the entire methodology that you adopt has got something to do with ideas behind each concept. When you write something as a main heading or a subheading in a module, try to identify the underlying idea behind that and try to relate with what subsequently happens under that head. Prepare a brief structure in the form of a note, how the content is associated, how these things are getting related. Try to see what should go into your long-term memory, which is important for MCQ, and what is that which is historical and only in terms of the year or the man behind. And again, try to have a plan of action where this gets sequentially related. If these things are done, you will see your MCQ, you become strong in that. Because the other, your conventional examination descriptive type is testing by and large whether you remember something. This is testing whether you know the idea about something, because memory will automatically come to you when you see the options. When you see the options, if the idea is within you, you will be able to pick one. And the ability to pick one among the given, because the right answer is already there, your ability to identify the right answer is what you're trying to sharpen, and not just your ability to reproduce. That is not at all important here. Your ability to identify the underlying idea behind something is the key concept, which is going to help you in that particular form. So do put your hard work on that line, prepare your plan on that line, and see that you work on that line. So these are some basic tips, more because I cannot talk about discipline specific ideas. I can only talk about certain general ideas. When you come across with each module, because somebody is talking about capital budgeting, or suppose somebody is talking about your assessment in terms of an individual or a joint stock company or a corporate entity. So when we talk about that, you try to immediately see what are the basic heads and subheads and what are the important material which you should grab at that point of time. Keep that as a ready reckoner with you in a summarized form. Your brushing up with that summary will strengthen you in your examination pursuits. So once again, thank you for this opportunity. Try to use at least some of these tips or tools to strengthen and sharpen yourself in your examination pursuits. And it's not just for this examination, even subsequently, this will help you in a deeper understanding of ideas, deeper understanding of applications, deeper understanding of concepts, whereby it is like your answer is there, but your competency is in identifying which exactly is the appropriate answer for you to pick up. So wish you all the very best, and I'm sure the teachers or the team would help you on that line with the material, and you as those who are participating can definitely take hold, have with you right at the start the past question papers, the curriculum, and try to solve as many of those past questions and try to see how they are inferential, how they are analytical, how the basic concepts are conveyed over there. That practice is very important. Your ability to take a number of practice sessions is very important, because this is more of practice, this is more of skills, this is more of analysis which you do, this is more of illustrations which you can talk about for each module that you are taking up. So wish you all the very best, and thank you so much for this opportunity, and I hope the coming weekends will be enriching with live sessions on each particular head in a classified format. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir, for those tactful tips. Two roads diverged in a wood, and I took the one less traveled by, and that has made all the difference. This poetic work by Robert Frost has a lesson to be learned and followed. Be the change, be unique, Be adventurous and be ready to deal up with any hurdles in your path to success. Success is not just limited to you topping in an exam. Rather, it extends to your capabilities to take, deal, and handle the challenges ahead of you beautifully. Here, I hand out the mic option to the Secretary of Commerce Club, Ms. Jibira from MCOMS2, to deliver the word of thanks as we're approaching the end of today's session.
Thank you, Rahma. I deem it a great honor and privilege to propose the vote of thanks on this memorable occasion. Let me first of all start by giving glory to the Almighty God for making today's occasion a resounding success. First and foremost, I thank our head of department, Dr. Gabriel Simon Tuttle, for not only sparing his inspirable time to grace this occasion, but also for enlightening us with his commendable talk on tips to prepare and crack NTNet. Thank you, sir, for clearing our concepts and enhancing our understanding pertaining to the topic.
Thank
I
you.
express I express my heartfelt gratitude to Dr. S. Rasia Begum, Dean Professor, Department of Commerce, University of Kerala, for her inspiring words and generous support. Thank you, ma'am. I also express my gratitude to Dr. Bijuti, Associate Professor, Department of Commerce, University of Kerala, for his encouraging words and unstinted support. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Next, I thank Ms. Lakshmi S., Faculty Advisor, Commerce Club, University of Kerala, for being the catalyst that inspired us to do our best and stand as a pillar of fire. Thank you, ma'am. With
Thank you.
deep sense of appreciation, I thank all the teachers for their valuable contribution, guidance, and encouragement in all our efforts. Next, I owe special gratitude to the PDF, SRF, and JRF scholars who have agreed to be the resource persons and have worked hard to make this program a grand triumph. Events like this cannot happen overnight. The wheel started moving months ago. It requires planning and bird's eye for details. We are fortunate to be supported by a very active organizing team, the Commerce Lab. I thank all the members for their hard work to making ensure this occasion becoming a memorable success. I also thank all the distinguished invites present here accepting our invitation. Last but not the least, I thank you, my friends, for your cooperation in making this function a huge success. Finally, I leave you with inspiring quote. Coaching works because it's all about you. When you connect with what you really want and why and take action, magical things can happen. Once again, thank you all for your keen attention. Thank you.
Thank you, Jibira. With this, we are concluding today's program. Thank you all for your wonderful participation. Further schedules regarding the classes shall be circulated in the Telegram group by this Wednesday. Stay tuned for those and let yourself bloom here with the Commerce Club team from the Department of Commerce, University of Kerala. This is me, Rehuma, signing off from the anchoring desk. Thank you all.